Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Andy Nichols, the other leg, and I'm really happy to present a new installment of Andy's Music Vault. For this episode, I have a guest on, a musician, a guy who's become a good friend over the last couple of years due to our fandom and appreciation and love of Yes music, and that is Joe Cass. And Joe is the drummer of the Yes tribute band Total Mass Retain. Joe is a younger guy around my age who has been a devout Yes fan. I've seen him at concerts for years. 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years ago, we connected finally at Jon Anderson solo show in Staten Island. Because again, when you've been on these forums for years, you get to know people and meet people over the years at shows. But there we finally connected. We found out we had some mutual friends in the Yes community. And that's where we connected. And throughout the last 3 or 4 years, we've talked and met online and met at shows, Yes shows, John shows over the years, and it's a pretty busy period in Yes Jon Anderson world time. And I figured it was a great time to have him on. I saw him at two of the recent Jon Anderson shows that I saw, and I did see Jon Anderson and the band Geeks twice in the last few weeks. I saw him in Newark, and I saw him again in Times Square. And as you know, I'm a huge Jon Anderson Yes fan, and to be able to see Jon at 78 years old sing classic Yes material with a band just warms my heart, because after he left Yes in 2004, I never thought it was going to happen again. So it's a real kind of renewal of the spirit and everything that Jon represents and the music that Yes represents. And I got to see Joe and his dad at both of these shows. They went to three. I went to two. Now in my circles, I'm considered the Yes head, the Yes nut. Joe and his dad have nothing on me. They're hardcore. They know the band. They know the members of the band. I've talked to members of the band. I've met them, but they know them on a personal basis. So I'm really hoping that you all enjoy the interview that I just conducted with Joe, and give his band a look and check out online. YouTube, Total Mass Retain. They are officially recognized by Yes as the best kind of tribute band to go see. And Yes doesn't tour that much these days. If they do, it's not going to be long. So they're mainly in the Northeast. But if you have a chance to go see them, please do. And I hope you enjoy the interview. It was great. And I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of The Other Leg, Andy's Music Vault. My name is Andy Nichols, and this is my other channel. Those of you who know that subscribe to me are probably two-leg subscribers, and you know that this channel is where I do all my stuff outside of the Beatles and Paul McCartney. And if you follow Two Legs since I've been on there, you know that one of my passions outside of Paul McCartney and Wings and the Beatles is the music of Yes, big time. And I am so thrilled today to have a guest on my show. And joining me today is a guy that I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, who I've known about for a long, long time, but really got to finally connect with him in 2019. And that is Joe Cass. And Joe is the drummer of the officially recognized tribute band Total Mass Retain by Yes. And I had the pleasure of seeing them earlier in March at Daryl's house when they did a Chris Squire themed birthday tribute show, which was absolutely tremendous. And Joe, welcome to Andy's Music Vault, and thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you, bud. What's going on?
Not much, man. It's a busy time in the Yes camp. Whether you're Jon and solo, Yes official, you've got Mirror to the Sky coming out in a few weeks, and we'll get into all of that. But I wanted to kind of for people that watch this show on my channel. They may not be Yes fans. They may not only a couple of songs. So this is going to be kind of a deep dive into, because we're like super Yes geeks, right? So we're going to dive into Yes a little bit. And I want to kind of give everybody a little bit of a background on you, me, and how we kind of came into our fandom before we get to TMR and Jon the Band Geeks and where Yes is at. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your experience, and your deep connection to Yes, this guy is in the inner circle. He knows people. So, Joe, tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Well, I'm Joey from the Bronx, and you mentioned when we spoke earlier about our ages. We're close in age, younger generation of Yes fans. So I'm 35, born in the year of Big Generator. Yeah. So my father being a super fan and a crazy guy, is the one who really got me into the Yes concert scene. I was 7. We went to the Talk Tour for 2 shows. And I don't know how, but we wound up staying at the same hotel as the band upstate. And I got in the elevator to go down to the lobby to go to the show. And me and my father got in the elevator, and Chris Squire got in the elevator. And that was the first time I met a member of Yes. And I had been watching, the 90125 VHS as a little kid, banging on pillows and drum pads and pots and pans and stuff, and learning how to play Yes. So it started really young. And then from the Talk Tour, as you know, once they came back for Open Your Eyes, they toured every single year pretty much through 2004.
Yep.
And then you and I officially met, just jumping ahead now, right, of the Yes fandom through my father, through all the years of touring, all the solo shows. When Jon Anderson toured in 2019, 1,000 Hands, we met at a pub next to the venue, which was the St. George Theater in Staten Island.
Yes.
And we happened to talk to one another. I was probably telling you about, my Total Master Tain Yes tribute band. And then we started talking about the fact that we both knew an epic, legendary fan named Malcolm Burkitt from England in Manchester. And that we both knew the same guy, and he was like a mentor and a great friend, and we had our own versions of relationships with him. And so you and I kind of bonded over the Yes thing, and then we bonded over the Malcolm thing, and here we are. So now it's like the fast forward version,
It is, and that's a tremendous. We came onto the Yes camp around similar eras. You were a little younger. You got on the Torque. You got into it when they were on Talk at the end of the Raven era. I jumped into Yes right around Keys to Ascension. So I was about that. It was a couple years later, and so I remember watching Fox After Breakfast, and it was like 8:30 in the morning, and watching them on the sidewalk singing "America," and I'm like, God, I wish I could be there, but I was in high school and I couldn't go. So
Right.
you were a little bit younger and you couldn't go, but that's a tremendous entry point for our fandom, and of course Malcolm Burkitt, who was just an angel of a guy who I met it over the years at a couple of shows. Joe and his dad and his circle of Yes people knew him much better than I did. I lived in the UK for a little while, so when Anderson and Wakeman toured the Living Tree stuff, I got to see a couple of those shows. So I met Malcolm in a few of those shows. That was my connection to Malcolm because I was over in the UK. So that's how I met him. So what a great guy, and I remember reading him on Yes Fans forums and posting, and that's how we connected. And that's how we connected initially. So I'd like to thank Malcolm for bringing us together to do that. And,
Excellent.
It's fantastic. So bringing it forward a little bit now to the band Geeks, right? So Jon has done a lot of touring on it. He did the 1,000 Hands tour with the band. He's done the Paul Green stuff with the kids, which has been tremendous. He's done his own solo stuff. But this is Jon now with a bona fide backing band playing Yes epics and classics. And you went to 3 shows. You went to Westbury, you went to Jersey, and you went to the Palladium, whatever that Nokia. It changes names every other freaking day. That place. PlayStation, Madonna me, that place. Please, come on. So you saw 3 shows. I saw 2 shows. What were your initial impressions of the Jon and the band Geeks? I mean, I know you know some of those guys. What are your thoughts on the band Geeks and where Jon is at? It's crazy to say, but almost 20 years outside of Yes. Isn't that crazy to say? Almost 20 years.
Man.
Go ahead.
It really is crazy to say.
What are your thoughts?
It starts with a quick premise, which you alluded to, which was Jon did all his solo stuff starting the year after Yes, 2005, Tour of the Universe. And he did something almost every year. Yes, had the Close to the Edge and Back tour. It didn't happen. Then it was the Benoit and the John Davidson days. So Jon had always come around. And his first band back was when he did Anderson Ponte. So they did versions of Yes songs, but they weren't trying to be Yes. But they did versions of Yes songs,
Right.
And then you mentioned 1,000 Hands, and they did versions of Yes songs, right? It kind of was the regular song, but you might have a saxophone or a horn or a random guitar solo, whatever the case may be. So we never had the Jon proper Yes effect. And so that premise, and almost that many years since we've had that, it was like being at a baseball game and they hit a grand slam on the first pitch. It was just like, this is what we've been waiting for. Jon Anderson singing literally Yes epics and classics with a band that plays it, like they've listened to Yes shows a lot,
Right, and you'll note, and Joe, we talked about the top. Joe's a musician; he's a drummer, so he knows the time signatures of this music. He knows it. We know it as a fan, but to me, I'm not a musician, but to hear them, the timing of this band, they're playing close to the edge in Ritual. I know they've slowed it down over the last 20 years, even when John was still with Yes. But there's a punch with the band Geeks when this material's played. They're playing it like the studio track, the pacing of it, and you could speak to better of this. You're a musician. What's your impressions on kind of the tempos at the band Geeks and then the arrangements that they're doing with stuff like "And You and I," even with the guitar? They're replicating the same studio. They're not even doing live. They're staying to the studio version. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah, and what's interesting about the band Geeks is their mix of studio and live. So as the drummer, Andy, their drummer, there's a lot of times where when Alan played Heart of the Sunrise a certain way, he did it the Alan way, and you've heard it that way since '73. And Andy would do a little bit more Bruford at certain parts. So there was a really cool aspect of, like, I appreciated the decision making, because It was still very authentic. It was never like random drum parts. It was always Bruford or White with really good dynamics, and he would hit really hard and hit really soft, and he was right in the pocket, and then he was crazy when he needed to be. So Andy did a great job on drums, but the whole band in general obviously studied the music, and the thing that actually I think is more important is they love the music. Mm-hmm. So they play with a lot of interest in delivering what the music is meant to be like. And I think that's really important when you're trying to experience Yes, is it playing, it's got to play the way it feels, Yeah. And I think they really get that. And John's in his zone and he's really feeling it too. And so it's to me like, the best Yes concert of the year.
I mean, you think about it. You're hearing. I mean, I saw Tour of the Universe. I went to all those shows. If you had told me in 2007 or 8 that we would see a backing band with John doing Ritual, I would have said, you're out of your mind. It's not going to happen. It's over. It's done. And here we are. And I listened to your appearance on the Yes Shift podcast, and I totally agree with you, my friend. The crown jewel of the night at the shows we saw was Ritual. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
How great was that? How great was Ritual?
Unbelievable. And actually, that's a good example of where I felt that the majority of the song was just like the studio. And it has to do with, and I'm spending a lot of time listening to versions of Ritual.
No.
And so when you look at the studio version of Ritual, I won't go too deep on this, but I'll give you some geekiness. The studio version of Ritual probably has more things that were cut together when they needed to fit things. Not that the parts don't belong sequentially, but like before John sings the first Nous sommes du soleil, the guitar is just and on Yes shows it happens 2 more times.
Right.
The keys start rising, and then there's like a Nous sommes du soleil, and then Alan's just driving straight, right?
All the way through.
But on the record, as soon as they go,
they go right into it. Boom. Right.
They go right into it. And then even the play between John and Chris on the album is different than the play between John and Chris live. And they go into an extra guitar solo at that bit, if you listen to the Yes Show's version, which to me is like the definitive live version. In Queen's Park, they go into one verse of the Remembering just before Steve does his really quiet part. So I think we're actually going to do that too.
Are you going to do the QPR one?
Well, we're going to pull, to me, everything's based on Yes Shows as the epitome. But then we're going to pull that bit. But then we might not do 3 rounds of all the bass soloing because that was Chris and we're not Chris. Anyway, I went down to TMR tangent. That's not what I meant to do.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
That's right. Yeah. Back in the band Geeks it's all about which versions of the songs from which tour and what inspires you and what you love. So they did a little bit more like the studio version, even compared to like Songus. And it's funny because I think the first night John was probably looking up in the sky like, when do I sing the last "We Love When We Play"? Right before Open Door. We find our way. So it looked like John was trying to find it because I don't think he's done it that way since the record. And that to me was really exciting as a fan to kind of watch them figuring it out, but they were always on. And wherever John went, the band went. So it wasn't like oh, we went early, we went late. It was like we went together wherever we went. So that was really an exciting thing about watching how top notch the band Geeks were. There was never a point, honestly, where I was like, oh, we're missing something from the show or the band's not cutting it.
Now, I've read some criticism, not criticism, but constructive criticism online where they felt like, and people that I went to the shows that said this, because I knew a couple people at the shows, they said that it was almost like John was playing to karaoke, meaning that like the songs were played note for note and like the record, and there was not a lot of imagination because they stayed to the record from Yours Is No Disgrace all the way to the end of the show. Do you agree with that or not? I mean, yes, they were tight, and I could see a yes and a no on that. Yes, they were played very strictly, like there wasn't a lot of deviating, and some people felt that it almost was like they weren't at a concert. They were just listening to like a karaoke jukebox. Do you agree with that or not?
I disagree, and it sounds like people can never be satisfied, right? Because we just finished saying it's the first time that this has happened. Oh, it's too good now. It's too much like the record. It sounds kind of funny, right?
Right.
Grumpy old man, as Rick Wakeman would say.
That's right.
So here's my deal. In direct response, yes, they played it very precisely for the first time that a band has done that since had John in it, right?
Yes, since John was in Yes,
okay.
Right.
So yes, huge thumbs up. It was very precise. At the same time, there were two moments in the show where Richie, who's the leader of the band Geeks, did inject his own personality, did rip sort of like a part two of a solo. So he did Heart of the Sunrise like Chris, and then went to his own soloing, and people ate it up. They loved it, right? Because I was looking around like, oh, he's doing his own thing. How are people going to react to that? And everybody loved it. He shredded. He jumped around. It was his personality. It's his band. So in that sense, they were literally doing their own thing, which I think is risky, and yet it paid off. And then he does it again during Ritual.
Yes.
So they're actually less precise in the sense that they've taken some liberties. Now, John is used to doing songs a certain way and hasn't done these songs with the band. So like there were moments where John didn't know his lyrics in New York City, and they kind of, in Yours Is No Disgrace, went to a certain place. And I'm not criticizing John. I love when he sings something different. It's John in the moment in outer space and on Earth and wherever else he is. So it's not a criticism. It's the band saying, oh, John skipped one of three vocal segments coming out of the guitar solo in the middle of Yours Is No Disgrace, and they had to know to go back to the turnaround one verse early, and they knew
and get
that.
back
right?
to
so
it. And yeah,
it wasn't some kind of like I'm listening to karaoke. That baffles me. I was in front row watching them shred notes and watching them play and watching them communicate. And so kudos to them. But if somebody felt it was too much like the record, then I don't know what else to tell them.
Well, what do you want? I mean, it's a group of professional musicians with a legendary, iconic singer delivering you classic Yes material in 2023.
Right.
What more do you want? What more do you want?
Right.
It was absolutely tremendous. I get it, but you know what? We are so blessed to be able to have John sing these songs in the way they were constructed, which I know has been a criticism of Steve, with John saying, well, they're not but here's John with the band doing it. I'm not going to get into Yes politics. I really don't want to get into that. But they coexist in their own universe, doing their own thing. And John has found a backing band, and they've got a tour going on. It's not long. It's a dozen dates. It goes till they did the 3 shows. They did the 2 nights in Scottish Rite in Collingswood, New Jersey. Now they're I think they're down in Virginia tonight, Baltimore, Missouri, Illinois,
Saturday, St. Louis, Chicago.
Right, Chicago, and back to Buffalo. So it's a short tour. I hope it's revisited. I really hope it's revisited because if you want to see what the human spirit represents, I mean, it's all over Jon Anderson's face when he sings this material. Would you agree? It's there.
Absolutely, it's great.
This is his music. This is everything he wanted it to be. Given the current, given where Yes and John are, this is the best we could hope for in 2023.
Yeah, you can't experience that when you see Yes Official, because it's not Jon Anderson. You can't experience what he feels. You can't experience how he makes you feel. John as a person on stage is a very wonderful and unique experience. Yes. And I'm in the Yes tribute band, so I'm going to be the first one to tell you And if anyone says otherwise, they're not 100% honest. No one sounds like John. You know that. We know that. He knows it. John Davison knows it. John Davison's not trying to be Jon Anderson. He's John Davison, singer of Yes, singing Jon Anderson songs because that's what people want to hear. But no one sounds like John. My singer Terry doesn't sound like John. He sings it very freaking well, and he has the right voice. He's not singing in falsetto. He's not using auto-tune. He could sing those songs, but he doesn't sound like John. So that's the hardest thing to separate, and that's just human nature. So let's put that as a fact.
It's a human nature, and it's a fact. And it's hard. It's really hard to somebody who wants to support Yes Official and John, and given their differences. I got to give credit, to the band, to Billy Sherwood, who I've corresponded with and met at shows over the years. Billy. Listen, when this album came out, it changed my life. This is it. This album changed my life. I was 18 when it came out, and I remember emailing Billy and asking him about it, and he was so gracious. And, so I want to give really a lot of credit to especially Billy Sherwood, after Chris's passing, to kind of keeping Yes alive. Yeah, it's not with Jon Anderson, but you've got Billy there. You've got Billy there. Yeah. You've got Billy there. You've got Steve there. You've got Jay now, and I know Alan. We lost Alan last year, but they're going out and they're making new music. They've got Mirror to the Sky, and we'll transition into some more official Yes stuff now, and we'll cover the band Geeks. Yeah. Mirror to the Sky is coming out in a few weeks. All Connected was the one single, which I really liked. But some people will say that it's speak singing. Musically they love it, but maybe they don't love the vocals. You guys covered in TMR. You guys even covered what was it? Subway Walls, right? From Heaven and Earth, right? You did Subway Walls. Yeah. So, what can you tell us about the person who has not really listened to the Yes studio albums, post Magnification? Since now and Fly, not counting Fly From Here, which I think is as good as any Yes record ever made.
Right. The record. Actually, the only thing that I would complain about Fly From Here. See, even I have complaints. I have personal tastes. The drums were not very punchy, like compared to Keys to Ascension, where the drums are so alive. Mm-hmm. The drums seem to me very condensed. That's my only criticism of Fly From Here. And I felt the same way about Heaven and Earth. And I talked to Alan about it, and he made comments. It's funny. But I think if a person doesn't listen to it because it's not Jon Anderson or because they don't like the music, I think that's perfectly fair. If a person has not yet listened to it, then I think it's a matter of because we went to all the concerts at that time and we saw the band for who they were. We talked to them or talked about them and experienced things for who they were at the time as older gentlemen, like Chris, for example. So Heaven and Earth doesn't have the velocity or maybe not even the epic creativity if you wanted to compare to breaking new ground on Magnification and breaking new ground on The Ladder, breaking new ground on Keys to Ascension. So, Heaven and Earth doesn't necessarily have a lot of that. It has a lot of, I think, a group maybe trying to find themselves. And, Steve probably says they should take more time, whatever. But Chris was actually proud of the album. I remember that. And Subway Walls is literally up there within the presence of and Homeworld and Fly From Here for me as a track in terms of the most classic Yes type song. And Davison's excellent on that, too, in all his vocals and all his lyrics. The thing about the sing-songiness of tracks on The Quest and tracks on Mirror to the Sky, I guess it's a question of, are you referring to how rapidly he says his lines? Is that what we mean by that?
Yeah, I've heard people say, well, it sounds like speak singing. It's like speak singing, and I kind of you know what I'm saying? That's what the people are saying.
Gotcha. So I think Jon Davison will say a lot of words quickly to fit the rhythm. So there's a very Billy Sherwood, almost intent to be odd in the vocal melody, not odd in the rhythm only or something like that. Mm-hmm. And very sharp in the movements of lyrics. And it creates more of a shape that's edgy and jumping around to places than some of the smoother kind of melodic. And I think that's maybe the difference. It's you listen to, la da 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 da. It's very sharp and jumpy, but then he sings, la da 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 da. So there's a little bit of both. but I understand the difference. Is he's very jumpy with his words, and for me, I really appreciate it better when I read the lyrics because I don't exactly know what he's saying sometimes because of how rapid he moves from word to word. But when I read the lyrics to the first songs that came out, I was like, wow, I freaking love these lyrics. I can't wait to hear the music. You know, it was very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about. Oh yeah. If anything, that's what I was going to say. If anything, going back to Heaven and Earth, yeah, it may not be. It may be Pan, but you know what? It was the last Yes album that had Chris Squire on it. So yeah, you know what? Maybe you're not in love with John Davison as a lyricist and a singer, but you know what? It's the last Yes record that featured a founding member and the spirit of Yes. So on those grounds alone, Heaven and Earth needs to be listened to because it was Chris's last album alone.
Yeah.
For that reason alone.
Yeah. I think if you put on Subway Walls, you're getting like a Starship Trooper kind of song, you know, in its terms of shape and where it goes and this big ending theme that's powerful. Subway Walls was a great song to do. The reason why TMR did Subway Walls is because we did it at Yes 50, which was when they did the 50th anniversary tour, and they had the 50th anniversary Fan Fest in Philadelphia. So Yes played on a Friday and a Saturday. And what they did was Saturday during the day, some friends that, you know, are in the inner circle of the Yes world, like Brian Neeson, who runs the Scottish Yes Network.
Scottish, yep.
Has organized a number of events where Yes have actually attended. Let me give them a shout. This is a crazy random fact. Including Steve Howe, all 5 members of Yes would go to a meet and greet hosted by the Scottish Yes Network, or as they call it now, Chris Squire's Sin, S-Y-N, prior to each show in like Glasgow or something like that. That's tremendous respect. So Brian helped organize this event in Philly. We were brought in to play the event with Patrick Perez, with Tom Brislin as like 3 different acts.
Yes, that was tremendous.
Roger Dean, Art Gallery. And so what happened is they said, oh, but, you know, we would ask you not to play anything that's in Yes' set list. So this was our second show ever, which means we haven't played everything yet. We've played Yes songs classics in a way that most people knew. And so that, as a band, that most of us can just get together and play, sounds funny, but get together and play Close to the Edge because it's a standard is it's hilariously honest. But if you said, hey, we're going to play Silent Wings of Freedom, it's like, well, wait a minute, how do you count that part and how do we come into this section? So it's true that even like just songs that you've heard it that many more times, or maybe you've played it before that many more times. So we had to drop things like Close to the Edge and then You and I, Yours Is No Disgrace, All Good People, Starship Trooper, Roundabout.
Because they were going to be in the set list, right?
Yeah. So we did a chronological set in honor of Yes 50, An Opportunity Necessary. I think like Siberian Catrue was the most common song. We did Sound Chaser, Future Times Rejoice.
I remember seeing
Changes, Hearts.
Yep. Yeah.
Brother of Mine. The More We Live, Let Go, Open Your Eyes, Subway Walls.
Nothing from Talk?
So that was... No, we didn't do anything from Talk, no. That's a tough one. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a huge push for anyone in the band. Like, let's do Talk. But I'm absolutely ready.
Of course you are.
Yeah,
So,
that was my first show.
Of course, that was your first show. So let's talk. Let's move it ahead now. Let's talk about the beginnings of TMR and why you wanted who founded it, how did it come together, and how long have you been at it? And tell us about how Total Mass Retain started and your passion as a drummer and how all that came together. I mean, listen, you've done very well. I went to go, I saw you guys. I'm like, these guys we got to go. So you guys are going in a really, really great direction. You're picking music that is it's just tremendous. So tell us about the origins of TMR and how that came together.
Cool. So I've always played Yes music by myself in the basement, to a CD, to a cassette tape, in my headphones, whatever. And as I got a little bit older and teenager, it was the Open Your Eyes tour, Beacon Theater, 1997, and my father said to me, hey, you see that guy over there? His name was Richie Corbo. He said he's in a Yes tribute band. He plays bass guitar. He plays like Chris. And I went up to that guy and I said, hey, I want to play Yes music. My father says you play like Chris. I could play like Alan, and I'm 10, you know?
And you're 10.
And,
you're 10. I was
and
at that show. Yeah, I was at that show too. I was 16. Go ahead.
Excellent. So the truth is that in 2017, I was in his band, Richie Corbo. So I joined Yesterdays, which was like a 90s, early 2000s Yes tribute. The point is, their drummer and their singer left, and this guy, Terry Day, and I both joined Yesterdays at the same time as the singer and the drummer. And John Ritwiger, current keyboard player for TMR, was in that band since its inception, for 20 years at the time, 30 years, whatever.
Wow.
We were doing all the Yes Song stuff, and they were good. And Ray, Rich's brother Ray played guitar. Good guys, great musicians. But they wouldn't do anything past, like, going for the one. Maybe they'd do something on Tormato or Drama, but they wouldn't even touch Raven stuff. So I booked the show, I made all the posters, I brought all the people, I made all this effort, and I still couldn't sing Changes. And I'm like, that's not my idea of a Yes tribute band, even though this is great. And I talked to Terry and John and said, you know, we're of like mind. The two brothers aren't of like mind. That's okay. They're bad guys for it, but it's not my idea of what I want to do as a Yes tribute band. At the same time, I met this guy, Mark Gonzalez, at a bar called Brewski's in the Bronx. And we always joked and said it was like Chris and John meeting in London at the bar and like talking about their ideas.
Right.
And so he was like, it was sort of like, you want to go do karate in the garage? Yeah. Did we just become best friends? Yeah. It was like Step Brothers, you know. He's like, I've seen you on the Yes pages before. You're Joe Cash, your father's Mike Yes fan. Yeah, I've seen you guys. That's cool, man. And we kind of bonded. And he played guitar, so we jammed a few times. And then Cruise to the Edge, I met a guy named Joel Sinkes from the Boston area. And he's wielding his lefty Rickenbacker playing the Yes song. And we just kind of, you know, I joke around because Chris Squire's, you know, one of my favorite people of all time. And I was like, I kind of Chris Squired it and like pulled it all together and said, we're going to be a band and this is how it's going to work if we can figure this out. And then TMR did its first show at Brewski's and its second show at Yes 50. And that's how that started in 2018. And then fast forwarding at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, Mark left the band and we had some shows booked. So I was like, damn, now it's like Yes trying to replace Bill Bruford, Close to the Edge stories and tours in 2 weeks, you know. So I make these stupid things up in my head.
Gotta learn the whole set list in 2 weeks' time, right?
Yeah. So what happened was a friend of mine, confidant, guy that I knew for a couple of years, Johnny Bruns, who lives in LA, originally from Philly. And Johnny played guitar in Yoso and in Circa.
Right.
Not the original lineup of Circa.
Tony K, Billy, right? Who was in Yoso? Tony K and Billy. Who else?
Yeah. Scott Connor on drums, who was a local guy out there, and Bobby Kimball on lead vocals. Yes, and Toto Yoso was the concept.
From Toto, right.
Right. So Bobby Kimball, yeah, from Toto. So they toured as Yoso, and I kind of made a deal. We went to this was a Malcolm time, right? So this story goes deep. Malcolm was friendly with Billy and Tony because everybody was friendly with Malcolm.
Right.
And it was just agreed that we were going to go have dinner at an Italian restaurant in the New York area. It was actually in Parsippany, and the place was called Ecolite. And I'll never forget.
Eckerly. I know exactly. That's 10 minutes from me. I know exactly where it is.
So I got a picture of me and Tony K in front, and he's doing the Italian hands. And I remember joking that the name Eckerly, I was like, what is this place? Ecoli? And we were all laughing. But anyway.
Eckerly. That's a great spot.
I know. It's great. It was delicious. So we had Italian food with Billy Sherwood, Tony K. And at that dinner, Scott Connor was talking about how he didn't have his double bass drum pedal. And I was like, hey, I'll lend you my double bass drum pedal. And I basically turned it into, but can I am with the band at soundcheck? And Billy and Tony, everyone said, yeah, okay, Joey's going to jam with us at soundcheck. So I played roundabout with them at the soundcheck. And it was the first time I played with Johnny. We just got friendly. So fast forwarding, I knew Johnny was the right guy to be in the band because there are not many who can play guitar like Steve Howe and nail it.
No way, baby.
And nobody's Steve Howe. Even whether you're the guy from the band Geeks or Johnny Bruns or someone else.
No, there's only one Steve Howe. Right.
Absolutely, it's incredible. But Johnny's freaking close.
Now, as I understood it, he auditioned for a guitar part for the In the Present tour. Is that true?
He didn't audition for the guitar part. He rehearsed. He was brought in by Chris and Alan to rehearse Benoit.
Oh, is that why? Because I was gonna say, why would he audition? Because Steve was there. So
Exactly.
Okay, so it was to audition for Benoit. Okay.
They were rehearsing in LA, and so they needed. Steve was in England, and they needed to rehearse Benoit.
Right.
And Billy recommended Johnny to Chris.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. So Johnny and I, again, we got to know each other from Yoso, and then he did Circa. I'd gone to LA a bunch of times, sometimes for work, sometimes for birthdays, sometimes whatever, but I went to see Yes at the Greek a bunch of times. So I saw Johnny Bruns a lot. He always made time for me. We hung out. We were brothers. We are brothers. So Johnny joined the band at the beginning of 2021.
Right.
Yeah. No, the beginning of 2022, rather.
Okay.
COVID screws up my sense of time. Johnny joined the band a year ago, just over a year ago. We played at the Kennett Flash near Philadelphia, January 2022. And that was the first show with Johnny. And then we did Prague on the Ranch, and then we did a bunch of shows Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, and now we just kind of posted like our next 6 shows for the fall, for the summer and the fall.
Summer and the fall.
So he's still coming from LA, so we have to like fly in, and we have to have a very well prepared single rehearsal, and then go play a show. So it's insane because we're rehearsing without a guitar player, but we pull it off. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, when you said at the Daryl's house show, and I didn't know him at the time, you said, "Oh, he just flew in from LA for this show," and I'm like, "Wow." So you've got a band where a guy is basically based in LA, comes over half a dozen times a year to rehearse and play music that is not easy to play.
Yeah, and the Daryl's house show.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. No. Tell us about the Daryl's house show. Tell us how that came together.
That was special because we played on March 5th, and Squire's birthday is March 4th, and so I had always wanted to do that. With TMR, like, hey, I want to do Fish Out of Water, do the whole album, Chris's birthday, but we were learning too many Yes things. I know, I see it.
Yeah.
Where is he? He's on this side of me.
He's on both sides. There he is.
We were always learning. There you go. We were always learning something like Subway Walls. We did a lot. Look, I have to say something I'm very proud of about Total Master Routine. We've done a lot of Yes songs that, as a fan, I really wanted to hear, but Yes hadn't done since like that album came out. Typically.
Correct. Right.
So, I'm trying to think chronologically. It's probably the Remembering, Sound Chaser, To Be Over,
Future Times Rejoice, Silent Wings of Freedom. Yeah.
Those are all 70s Yes songs that are considered to be epics and favorites and things that people haven't heard in so long. So that made it really special for a lot of people. And it made it special for me because I absolutely love doing it.
Absolutely. So TMR is and again, here's a little plug. There they are. They got stickers. They got merch. That's it. That's the band right there. They are just a tremendous band. And given that how infrequent Yes tours, and then, if you can get your TMR show, you're going to hear these deep cuts. You're going to hear the songs that, Yes has not been able to play for decades. And it's absolutely tremendous. I went with a friend of mine to Daryl's house, and I'm like, and she wasn't a Yes fan at all. I mean, she's a novice, and you're playing like Hold Out Your Hand. I'm like, just wait, just wait. This is just the test of the water. So, I think what you guys are doing is absolutely tremendous. Tell us about where TMR is booked over the next 6 shows. I'll be at the July 16th one in City Winery. And if you can give us a little bit of a teaser on what you've been rehearsing and working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to bookend the Daryl's house thing for a minute.
Please.
Which was, excuse me, that we created a set list in honor of Chris Squire by choosing songs that were specially either Chris influenced or Chris driven. So we opened with Heart of the Sunrise, just to be in your face. This is about Chris. We did Silently Falling as was it Silently Falling? No, it was
no.
Cannon Song.
Cannon Song.
Was the opening track while we walked on stage.
I asked you if you were going to do Silently Falling, and you laughed at me.
I know. So we had to pick and choose our battles for this one. So we did like Breaking Down Walls from Indestructible.
Yep.
Open Your Eyes, off Open Your Eyes.
Oh.
we did 5% for Nothing, Long Distance Runaround, and The Fish.
And that was
and that's fun to me. People
And
always go, "Holy shit, you did 5% for nothing."
You did, but you also did Does It Really Happen, which was tremendous.
Yeah, so we decided to take a little bit of liberty and do a different version of The Fish, because we always do the classic version of The Fish, and sometimes it has Tempest Fugit, Sound Chaser, Silent Wings of Freedom. And we said, we've played all those songs in their entirety. It would be fun to do something that we hadn't done. And a friend of mine was having a birthday and celebrating his birthday at the show, and asked me if we were doing Does It Really Happen, because it's an epic Chris line. So Joel and I decided to go from The Fish into the intro of Does It Really Happen and the outro of Does It Really Happen, with the bass solo parts. Then we did Amazing Grace. And then we did a Chris Squire medley, which was Aliens Are Only Us from the Future, which he did live in 2008.
2008, I loved it. I saw that. That was great. Can you imagine?
And then he recorded it with Squack It and Hold Out Your Hand. And then, of course, we did Awaken, Roundabout, Foster Trooper. So they didn't allow us to do any video recording. So my father recorded almost all the show on his cell phone. So there's a moment or two where he's asking for a Bud Light, I've been packaging it, and I'm going to release the whole show. Well, the band is going to release the whole show as a bootleg, an official bootleg.
Right.
So it's going to be live from Daryl's house, Chris Squire birthday tribute. And in the next probably month or so, I'm going to actually set up some sort of a podcast and stream on Facebook kind of thing. And the F-Shift guys might actually help me do it. But I'm going to just do like a live talk about the Daryl's House show, and we're going to release on YouTube for free. We're not in the business of selling music. Concert tickets are concert tickets.
Exactly. No.
So we're going to release the Daryl's House show.
That's fantastic. I've seen the clips on YouTube, and I had a feeling it was your dad who filmed all that stuff. So I'm glad. I'm glad it was captured. And if you need any help editing it, let me know.
All right.
So
I have it all on YouTube. I'll send it to you anyway. I'll send it to you to check out. You let me know what you think.
Absolutely.
My father goes, "Well, I was well behaved. That's his whole thing. One night he didn't cause a ruckus. He was well behaved filming." And so then that leads us to the next shows, which you asked about. So we're going to do on Sunday, July 16th in downtown Manhattan at the New York City Winery. And that's a really great venue. Go to NewYorkCityWinery.com. Well, all the shows are listed at TotalMassRetainBand.com. Yep. Or if you look for Total Mass Retain Yes Tribute Band on Bandcamp, that has all the ticket links too. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do Sunday, July 16th in New York City Winery. And then a month later, we're going to do 2 shows in Pennsylvania. On Friday, August 18th, we're at a really nice-sized theater called the Sherman Theater in Stroudsburg. And actually, we put together what we call the Prog Rock Tribute Night, because it's a large venue. Actually, it might be the largest venue we've ever played to this date, besides like some of the festival stuff we've done. Mm-hmm. But it's got like 1,000 seats or whatever the case is. So we have a Kansas tribute band called No Return that's opening. So it'll be a night of yes in Kansas. That's going to be great. That's Sherman Theater, August 18th, Stroudsburg, PA. And then the next night, it'll be our 4th show at Kennett Flash, which is in this town called Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, that I never heard of before until we played it 4 years ago. And it's this great spot. It's a beautiful town, good restaurants, a lot of great Yes fans. And it's a little bit smaller, so we've sold that place out 3 out of 3 times, and we're going to hopefully do that a 4th time, Saturday, August 19th. And then we're doing the Boston City Winery on the Sunday, September 3rd, which is Labor Day weekend. We did Labor Day weekend there last year, and just timing-wise and the way it worked out, they asked if we would come back Labor Day again because they were happy with it. So we're doing the Sunday, September 3rd in Boston. Oh. And then Saturday, October 21st, we're playing in Long Island in Belmore. And Belmore is a great town. They had a whole bunch of concert venues in the past. And, for example, one was called KJ Farrell's, but it closed down. So, like, everyone went to KJ Farrell's.
Yeah,
a lot
of
bands played there.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Wonder Stories. Wonder Stories. You've seen Wonder Stories, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, Kenny and the group, they're great.
Yeah.
That's another, you could have a whole podcast on them. They're great.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then, so Sunday the 21st in Belmore, they converted a movie theater to a place, they're calling it Belmore Concerts. If you just look up Belmore Concerts, BelmoreConcerts.com. So we're playing there on Saturday, October 21st. And then Sunday, October 22nd, we're up in Beacon, New York at the Town Crier, which we've played twice already. And that's not too far from Daryl's house for those who are in the Hudson Valley or in the Beacon area. It's pretty much 30 minutes apart. So we'll be at the Town Crier. And so we have a couple of other things in the hopper. we're looking at different New York State stuff and different Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh, and there's a Quebec City offer that I got today, and someone wants to book us in Texas.
Jersey.
I know. I'm talking about all these places. You're 100% correct, bud. So I'm doing all the booking, right? So I'm building relationships, making moves. Right. I have to figure out Jersey's a little bit of a tough nut to crack. And I'm trying to figure out like what's the right place, and then I'm sending emails and trying to make calls, and so I have to find the right Jersey place because we're kind of like New York and Philly, and we're not really like getting the in between,
Right. Well, if I can help you, I will, man. I know plenty of venues around here, so I can put the word out and help you out. So we'll talk.
All right, bud. We'll talk. Thank you, man.
We'll talk on that. So, all right. So those are all the upcoming. Those are the next 6 gigs, right, bud?
Those are the next 6 gigs, and totalmassretainband.com if you want to follow along, or on Facebook.
All right, we're gonna put Joey from the Bronx on the spot now. Okay, so hope you're ready, Joe. I want to hear your top 5 Yes albums, and then I want to hear your top 10 Yes songs, start to finish. Okay. You're on. Albums first.
All right. Do live albums count?
Live albums count.
All right. So then I'm going to say Yes shows, Tales from Topographic Oceans, Relayer, 90125, and I'll pick a modern one, and I'll go with what you said before, and I'll say The Ladder.
Okay, for top 5.
And that list can change, and that's the way I think it is.
Exactly. All right, top 10 Yes song, favorite Yes songs. Current. Again, tomorrow there could be another 10.
Today these are my 10 favorite Yes songs. Ritual, Gates of Delirium, Awaken, Close to the Edge, Revealing Science of God, Mind Drive. I don't know, I lost count, but those are long enough to be like 4 albums right there.
They could be.
I'm in the big epic mode, and part of it is because we're going to present 2 epics at the TMR shows that are upcoming, and when we played Philadelphia in January this year, we actually did our second set was Close to the Edge, Gates of Delirium, and Awaken, Starship Trooper. So we came back from the break, and people were like, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah, you can't. I'm really happy you threw Yes shows in your list, because that's an album that kind of gets it's not hailed as epic as Yes songs, right? But I mean, where else are you going to get the bona fide live versions of Gates of Delirium and Ritual? They're on Yes shows.
Yes songs was a moment in time, like when people discovered, holy shit, Yes is the hardest rocking, ferocious, fastest guitar playing, craziest bass line, best singing and harmony. And then there's Alan White. He's obviously Bill Bruford, but you don't have to say much more. Just Alan White. That was probably one of the greatest albums that ever came out at the time. And actually, the theme for our shows in the fall and summer is a statement that I kind of coined, which everybody agrees with, as far as I understand, which is the 3 greatest consecutive album releases in progressive rock history are Yes songs, Tales from Topographic Oceans, and Relayer. That's the theme for TMR this summer and fall. The 50th anniversary of the 3 greatest consecutive album releases.
It's 1973. Hell of a year, man. Hell of a year for a triple live album that comes out in the spring, and then in the fall, and then Tales comes out at the end towards the end of the year. Incredible. Unbelievable. Joey from the Bronx, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I am so happy to have connected with you over the last couple of years and bonded with you over our shared friends, our shared love of Yes music. You are just killing it with TMR. I follow everybody. I follow you guys everywhere on social media. Your videos, everything that you've pumped out has been absolutely tremendous. I hope you guys end up playing more. I know that means that he'll have to come over and fly. He'll have to come over from LA more. But you guys, I mean, outside of seeing Yes, Total Mass Retain is the best thing you can get to see what Yes is, and they endorse it. And that's it. This is what you're hearing. If you can't see Yes, go see these guys, and you're going to see music that really Yes is not playing. which is even better. So you're going to hear these songs, and they do it with justice, and they do it with love, and they do it with respect. And that's the bottom line. And you can hear that in the music, and it's done in a lovingly way. Every one of those guys in that band knows their craft. They know that, and they treat the music with the respect and the love that it deserves. Okay, so you got to go see these guys when they come.
Thank you, bro.
You got to go see.
I appreciate
them.
that.
No,
very well
of course.
said. I feel the same way, even though that's biased. But I appreciate your friendship too. I like that we get along on the same kind of thing. To hang out a bunch of times and have a drink and chill out and share yes tales and whatnot. And I appreciate your friendship. Thanks for letting me come on the show. This was definitely a lot of fun. And I'll send you the Daryl's House videos. You can check them out. We didn't edit any audio at all. I just put some little graphics. Every once in a while, if the camera went crazy, I just put a little something.
Yeah, send it my way.
It's raw.
It's the official bootleg. I love that.
The official bootleg.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you very much, bro.
No problem. So we'll say so long to everybody, and stay tuned to this channel because I'm going to have an interview after the interview with Joe gets posted. I'm going to have an interview with Kevin Mulryan, who does the Yes Music podcast, because he's got a book coming out also in a few weeks just on Tormato, believe it or not.
Yeah.
One book just on Tormato. I'm interviewing him in a couple of days, so we're going to have 2 back-to-back Yes kind of related episodes on my own podcast channel here on Andy's Music Vault. So stay tuned for that. And Joey, thank you, man. I love you.
Woo! Love you too.
So we'll see everybody next time.